Hey, what's up, guys? So, if you're a parent, or even just someone who's been around kids for a while, you know how wild their imagination can be, right? They say the craziest things, come up with the weirdest stories, and sometimes it's hard to know when it's just a kid being a kid, or when something else is going on. But let me tell you this story, it's not something I ever expected. I never thought I'd be the parent telling a horror story like this, but here we are. It all started about a year ago. I've got two kids, Aiden, who's 7, and Emma, who's 4. They're pretty close in age, and I swear they act like best friends most of the time. But Aiden, he's always been a little different. I'm not saying anything's wrong with him. He's just got this intense personality. He's always asking questions, always thinking a little deeper than most kids his age. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's a little unsettling when you hear him ask things like, why do people die? Or do we go somewhere after we die, or do we just disappear? Yeah, dark stuff for a 7-year-old, right? But that's Aiden for you. So one day I'm picking him up from school and I notice he's been acting a little off. He's quieter than usual, not like him at all. When I ask him about his day, he just mumbles something about being tired and doesn't really want to talk about it. Later that night, after dinner, I tuck them both in bed. Emma's already asleep, but Aiden, as usual, is wide awake, staring at the ceiling. He's always been a little slow to fall asleep. But that night, he looked almost terrified. It's hard to explain, but there was something about the way he was looking at the dark corners of the room that sent a shiver down my spine. I sat down on the edge of his bed, trying to get him to talk. Hey, bud, what's going on? You look a little freaked out. He didn't answer right away. He just stared into the dark. Finally, he said, Mom, do you ever feel like something's watching you? I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. No, buddy, that's just your imagination. It's okay. But he wasn't buying it. No, Mom, I know something's watching me. I saw it. I froze. I mean, come on. My kid's not even 8 yet, and I'm hearing stuff like this. But I didn't want to freak him out more, so I just said, Aiden, you're probably just imagining it. You know how your mind can play tricks on you. He looked at me, dead serious, and said, It's not in my head, Mom. It's real. I see it every night. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept thinking about what he said. Something's watching me. And the way he said it, so certain, so scared. It stuck with me. The next morning, I went about my day like normal. Took the kids to school, did the errands, but my mind kept wandering back to that conversation. I tried to shake it off, but something about it gnawed at me. Then, a few days later, things got weirder. One evening, after putting them to bed, I decided to tidy up the house. While I was straightening up the living room, I found something strange, a piece of paper on the couch. It was crumpled up, like it had been tossed aside. I unrolled it, and my heart stopped. It was a drawing. Aiden's drawing. It was of our house. But there was something off about it. In the picture, the house was completely dark, with blacked out windows, and there were shapes in the windows, figures standing there, watching. And at the top of the drawing, in Aiden's little handwriting, it said, It's waiting. I mean, I don't know about you, but seeing something like that freaked me out. I wasn't sure what to do. I thought maybe it was just his way of dealing with a bad dream, but the way the drawing felt, it didn't feel like just a bad dream. It felt real. I asked Aiden about it the next morning. I tried to keep my voice calm, but I could feel the tension in my chest. Hey Aiden, what's this drawing about? He looked at it, then at me, and his face went pale. I didn't draw that, Mom. I just stared at him. Aiden, this is your handwriting. You're the only one who could have drawn this. He shook his head slowly. No, Mom, I didn't. I swear I didn't know what to say. My mind was racing. I didn't know if I should be scared or if I was just being paranoid. But when I looked back at the drawing, the words, "It's waiting," kept echoing in my head. And then there was that thing he said before. I see it every night. That night I didn't sleep. I kept the light on in their room. and I kept checking on them every few minutes. I know. It sounds insane, but there was something about the way Aiden was acting that just wasn't sitting right with me. Then came the whispers. I'm not talking about hearing things in the wind or anything like that. I mean, I actually heard whispers. Soft, faint voices coming from their room. It was past midnight, and the house was quiet. I was drifting in and out of sleep when I heard it. A low, almost unintelligible whispering. I shot up in bed, trying to figure out where it was coming from. My heart was pounding in my chest as I crept down the hallway, trying not to wake anyone up. I reached the kids' room and peeked inside. Aiden was sitting up in bed, wide-eyed, staring at the corner of the room. And it wasn't just that he was staring. He was listening, like he was waiting for something. I whispered his name. Aiden, what are you doing? He didn't respond right away. He just kept staring at the corner, like he was hypnotized. Finally, he turned to me, his eyes wide and scared. It's talking to me, Mom. I don't know what I expected him to say. I honestly didn't know what to think anymore. But hearing him say that made my blood run cold. I tried to stay calm. Who's talking to you? He looked at me, his voice barely a whisper. The man in the corner. That's when I lost it. I didn't even know what to do. I grabbed him, pulled him close, and turned on every light in the house. The whispers stopped, and the room felt empty again. I didn't let Aiden sleep in his bed that night. He ended up in mine, and honestly, I didn't feel right being in that room alone either. But I told myself I was just being dramatic. Kids have nightmares, right? This was probably just one of those things. The next morning, I found another drawing. This one wasn't on paper. It was on the wall, in crayon, near Aiden's bed. And this one was even worse. It was a figure, a shadowy figure with no face, just a smile, wide, sharp, too wide. The thing had long, spindly arms, and it was standing right next to Aiden's bed. Underneath it, written in messy handwriting, was the word, soon. At that point, I was done pretending like this was normal. I called a family member to stay with the kids while I went and talked to a therapist. I needed answers. The therapist told me that Aiden's imagination could be playing tricks on him. But when I asked about the drawings, they didn't have an explanation for that. And that's when I decided to do something I never thought I'd have to do. I hired a paranormal investigator. But what they found? Well, that's a whole other story. The thing in the corner? Turns out it wasn't just in Aiden's head, but that, well, that's for another time. So, I gotta tell you about something that happened a few years ago. Something that still gives me chills to this day. Now if you have kids, or even just know kids, you know how common imaginary friends are, right? I mean, it's a normal part of childhood. Kids make up friends, give them weird names, have entire conversations with them, sometimes even argue with them. It's just their little minds being creative. That's what I thought too. Until my daughter's imaginary friend started knowing things she shouldn't. So, my daughter, her name's Lily, was 5 when this all started. She was always a bright, bubbly kid, super social, always talking, always laughing. And for a while, it was just her and me. Her dad wasn't really in the picture, so it was just us two. One day, she came home from preschool, and she was so excited. I thought maybe she made a new friend at school, but nope. She told me in that excited little kid voice, "Mommy, I have a new best friend. Her name is Marcy." I smiled and went along with it. "Oh yeah? Where did you meet Marcy?" Lily just giggled. "She lives in my closet." Okay, a little weird, but still, just a kid thing, right? I brushed it off. At first, it was cute. She would set an extra plate at the table for Marcy, talk to her while playing, even whisper to her at night before bed. Normal kid stuff. But then, things started getting really strange. One night, I was tucking Lily into bed and she looked at me and said, "Mommy, Marcy likes your blue dress." I frowned. "What blue dress, baby?" She rolled her eyes like I was so dumb. The one you wore on your birthday, the pretty one with the little sparkles. Guys, my birthday was months ago, and yes, I did have a blue dress with sparkles. But here's the thing, Lily never saw me wear it. She was at my mom's house that night. She wasn't even home. I laughed nervously. How do you know about that dress, Lily? She gave me this innocent little smile and said, Marcy told me. She was there. My stomach dropped. I tried to laugh it off, but my mind was racing. How the hell would she know about that? That was the first time I felt off, like something wasn't right. A few weeks later, I was up late, scrolling on my phone in bed, when I heard Lily talking. It was around 2 a.m. At first, I thought she was just having a dream, but then I realized she wasn't just mumbling. She was talking. I got up, walked down the hall, and peeked into her room. She was sitting up in bed, facing the closet, whispering. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I got that feeling. You know, that deep feeling in your gut when you know something is wrong? I swallowed my fear and stepped inside. Lily? She jumped and turned to me, eyes wide. Mommy, you scared Marcy. I looked at the closet. The door was cracked open. I felt this horrible wave of nausea. I don't know why, but I felt like something was watching me. I shook it off and forced a smile. Baby, it's really late. You need to sleep. Lily frowned. But Marcy was telling me about the lady who used to live here. I swear, my heart skipped a beat. What lady? Lily shrugged. She said a lady used to live here a long, long time ago, and she didn't want to leave. My throat went dry. Now here's the thing. I never told Lily anything about the house's history, but I knew. The previous owner was an older woman. She had lived there alone for years, and she had died in the house. I never told Lily that. I turned off the light and practically ran back to my room. After that night, I started noticing things. The TV would turn on by itself. I'd wake up to find Lily's toys scattered across the floor, even though I knew I cleaned them up before bed. But the worst thing? The closet door. No matter how many times I closed it, it would always be open in the morning. One night, I tried an experiment. I shut the closet door, locked it with a chair in front of it, and told myself, okay, if it's open in the morning, I'm losing my mind. That night, I barely slept. I kept hearing noises, soft, shuffling sounds like someone was moving around in Lily's room. I told myself it was just the house settling, but my gut was screaming at me that it wasn't. When I finally got up the courage to check on Lily, my blood ran cold. The chair was moved. The closet door was wide open. And Lily? She was standing in front of it, just staring inside. I rushed to her and shook her gently. Lily, what are you doing? She blinked up at me, confused. Marcy said you shouldn't close the door. I picked her up and took her straight to my bed. I didn't care how irrational I looked. I was not letting her sleep in that room anymore. The next morning, I made a decision. I was going to sage the house, do whatever I had to do. I wasn't dealing with this anymore. But before I could, Lily came up to me with a piece of paper. Marcy drew this for you. I took the paper from her and felt sick. It was a drawing of our house. But there was something wrong. In the window of Lily's room, there was a face. Not a normal face. A dark, smudged face with hollow eyes. And standing next to Lily's stick figure drawing, a tall, shadowy shape with no features. Marcy says she's sorry, Lily whispered. She didn't mean to scare you. I didn't even hesitate. I packed up our things, called my mom, and within a week, we moved in with her. I never told Lily why. I never explained. I just told her we were moving. And you know what? She never mentioned Marcy again. It's been years, and I still don't know what was really happening in that house. I don't want to know. But sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I swear, I still feel like something is watching.